Hi, I'm PJ. I'm currently a junior in construction engineering management on the 5-year track. I'm also getting a minor in leadership and service through the Corps of Cadets. So about construction engineering management. So some of the things that we always like to emphasize, of course, is like the smart design and construction. So especially with things being like more like renewable and just more energy efficient, like that's one of the things that we always focus on. Overall, just the general construction of them, being able to build them more efficiently and faster, getting people in their homes always good. Human-centered issues. There's always a lot of opportunities to like have the human and construction interaction. I know they had the certain, what was it, the design teams are always doing like the Habitats for Humanity or the energy efficient homes and things like that. So they are focusing on kind of like those more real world issues, which I always think is kind of cool to recognize. And then project management. So what they really mean by that is, and this is like why I really love CEM, is it's pretty much like half an engineering degree and then half of like a business degree, just like smushed together in one. So depending on like what you want to focus on, that can dictate like what you want to do. So if you want to be more like kind of like in an office doing like the design of it, then you're taking more of like your theories and structures, steel deformation, stuff like that. But then you also have like construction estimating and scheduling, construction health and safety, and then you're more of like the managerial side. With this major, just like with mining and minerals, if you want to be more like outside and, more hands-on, this definitely gives you the opportunities to do that. So I think that's one of the great things about the major. I actually had no idea about this until I came to tech. So I actually went to like a high school that was focused on engineering. And I had like I've never even heard of like the ISC, CEM, or mining until I came here. And because initially I was thinking I was just going to go civil all the way. And then once I realized like this was like more hands-on, I could be outside and kind of like be in charge of a project, that kind of aligned with more of like what I wanted to do and what I plan on seeing with my future career. So that was really what I looked for. And I'm like so happy I picked it. We do have like the 100% job placement after graduation. So it's always good to keep in the back of your mind. And yeah, we are like, we're not as small as mining per se, but we are like a smaller major. So my graduating class is roughly like 50 to 60 students. So, having a smaller major is, it's pretty nice, I think, because, again, you get that big school setting, but in a small classroom. And then the job placement again for this is 100%. So, it really does show a need for construction engineering.
What are the advantages, disadvantages of having a degree in civil versus construction?
So I wouldn't say that there's like disadvantages, advantages. It's really more of like what you plan on doing with your career. So my courses are actually, they overlap a lot with civil. So like, for the most part, you probably could get that double minor or double major or take similar classes like that. But from what I've seen, pretty much it's just what you plan on doing. So for me, I like to be the project manager. Like I like being on site and then just like kind of controlling the whole environment. But my friends in civil, they like kind of more understanding how the building is built and like why it can work structurally. So I like to say the architect will design it, the civil engineer will make sure that the design can actually withstand the weight of the structure, and then the construction engineer sets the design and says, okay, I'm going to go build it. So it really is whatever you want to do with your future and your career and then what you plan on seeing.
Do we need to study art for this?
I wouldn't say specifically for this major, but I mean, I know in just the general graduation requirement, you have to take like your CLEs or your pathways, and the fine arts credit is a requirement. So directly no, but indirectly yes. I believe is the proper way to answer that. But again, that doesn't mean that you're not going to be creative, because especially with us, we work a lot with civil 3D BIM modeling, which is like building information management, where it's like you're designing the building three-dimensionally. And then so now it's funny, our professor always likes to talk about it. She said, back in my day, it was you're at a drawing board with like a huge sheet of paper, and she's like, yeah, now all the project managers walk around with an iPad, and then they can just touch screen and like see it all three-dimensionally. So I think it's good to take like the art credits and things like that, because it kind of gets you into that mindset of how things are going to look, because you got to put the building into perspective, because there's a lot of things that correlate. So like, if I put this building here, what's that going to mean for the bus lane around it? Or is that going to increase traffic, increase noise? And then by doing that, then we can actually calculate like the effect that it'll have on that environment. So it's always a good thing to have, but it's not necessarily required.
Who would you recommend this program for?
I would recommend this program for anyone who really likes to be kind of more hands-on in like the more business managerial side, but still having like that engineering background. So to me personally, I love it because I have the opportunity to be on site, hands-on if I want. So maybe early on in my career, when I'm still young and able to move and stuff, and I can go outside, be a project manager. But then, maybe as I'm getting older and I don't want to be outside as much, and then I can switch and be like, okay, I want to go back in the office and work on, working on submittals, requests, bids, and things like that. So it really is kind of for anyone who really just likes to see something to completion, because I don't know if you're anything like me, I like taking pride in my work. So, knowing that one day I'm going to, take my kids past a building and be like, hey, I built that, or like, yeah, I was in charge of that. And, I think that's kind of cool. Just anyone who really likes being outside and then working with their hands and then taking pride in their work pretty much.
What minors pair well with this major?
So there are a few that I know of. So again, green engineering is always the big ones, with BSc, civil, and construction, just because like there's always a lot of the factors, especially with construction. There's so many things that you got to take into consideration, because like when you build something, you got to worry about like the water runoff. So then it's like, well, water runoff has, specialties in BSc. So then, or like the biological system. So then, okay, that could play a role here in that. You do have to take like certain like computer classes too. So again, it really is like kind of anything you really want, but like certain ones are always going to be easier than others. So like green engineering, I would say, is going to be your best choice. And then after that, depending on what you want to focus on, because let's say you get a minor in computer science, but your major is in construction. Well, then, you go into the workforce knowing like, hey, I'm really good at this computer science, and I have a background with doing the AutoCAD and the designs and the BIM models. And then companies are really looking for that nowadays, because everything is kind of moving that paperless world all online. That makes sense.
Are there undergraduate research opportunities?
Yes. So because we have the 100% job placement, the big thing is just talking to your professors. They're always working on something, researching something. So if you go out, like if you look for them, they're there. I personally have not done any, just because with the Army, they always like to keep busy. But yes, they are there. And then especially with research, like if that's not something like you're looking for, there's always a bunch of clubs that we have too. So we have like the energy efficient house. I think our group last year won like 5th in the nation or something. That like they did really well, and I think they went to Dubai and competed, and it was like this whole big thing. That's always really cool. And then just by doing like we have like numerous clubs that you can go to. Yeah, the Myers-Lawson School of Construction has done like a really great job of reaching out to the students. Research is there, and other opportunities if you don't want something as serious, and then that might be something you want to lean towards.
Can you talk about the co-ops and internships for this major?
Yeah, so again, that kind of ties in with undergraduate research, but especially with this, I know because the follow-up is like, how easy would it be for a freshman? We actually have, so there's like just the general career fair, and then the Myers-Lawson School of Construction will host their own career fair that's specifically for building construction, civil engineering, and construction engineering and management kids. So then they're looking just for that. So you have a lot of opportunities to look for one. And then again, the big thing, especially here at Virginia Tech, is Hokies hire Hokies. There's always a lot of opportunities, especially in Virginia. There's a lot of companies. So I'm from Maryland, out on the East Coast. Like we have a lot doing with like kind of like the Bay and like all the restoration stuff. So I had a internship lined up with the Chesapeake Contracting Group, but because of the coronavirus, that got canceled. I can't like give you guys too much on that, but yeah, they are out there, and especially with construction, I would say you have more of an opportunity because we offer more chances with career fairs. And with the 100% job placement, construction is one of those high demand jobs. So they're always looking for kids, and you're a company, it makes sense that you want to like lock someone in early on, so that way like you can have them by your senior year, they know like we groom this kid to be our employee, and we know he's going to do a great job for her, and then you're just kind of setting yourself up for success.
What sort of workload is involved with this major?
So I would say it's not as intense as most other engineerings, I would say. So I would say a lot of my hardest classes are actually the ones that I'm taking that are actually like civil classes. So I still have to take like statics and deforms, and structures and dynamics and things like that. But the classes that are actually like my CEM classes are my construction health and safety, my estimating and scheduling. I actually have like my schedule pulled up because I had it for my Army. And then so I was looking at it. It's all in all, it's not as terrible as you'd think, because it really is half of engineering and then half of kind of just business and management in one, because I do have to take like 3 semesters of economics and things like that. So it is, I would say it is a very doable one. And that's why like a lot of people, will tack on a minor and things like that, or, join clubs or have a job.
If I wanted this type of degree as opposed to civil, could I still pursue experience and job opportunities in hydraulic or transportation engineering? And how limited would I be since CEM students can't take these specific civil courses?
Yeah, so I do know, because civil is like a general engineering, and like you have to like major in something specific, like the transportation engineering. With us, you can focus in on like residential heavy civil, which would be like your dams and your roads, and then specialty, which would just be kind of like electrical contractors, masonry, things like that. So I would say you don't have like the opportunities per se in like majoring in them, but like once you get to your career, then you'll be focused on that. But if you know like for sure like, oh, I want to do hydraulic and transportation, civil has like a whole major like outline just for transportation. Because like my classes per se is like estimating and scheduling. We kind of go into like, oh, if we're getting these trucks in on this day, well, we can't be drilling because we'll have these trucks in. So how are we gonna correlate like that? So we only take like a class or two, and we kind of just cover the surface of that. But if that's something you want to dive into more and like that's your focus, then I would recommend kind of steering towards civil for that point, if that makes sense.
Okay, thank you, PJ. That's all the time that we have. Thank
Oh,
you for being here.
yeah.